everybody. Good morning. Give this a second to do its thing and catch up. But good morning, everybody, and anybody who climbs on later, joins later, or watches this on the replay. Let me know where you're checking in from. And if you have planned to go to Greece as well. So today's video, you guys, is going to be about my recent trip to Greece. I actually just got back yesterday, and got back, I'm still in Europe. So just got back to my home in Europe yesterday. And I thought I'd go ahead and recap while it's fresh in my head the 4 cities I've been to. This trip only did 3, but I'll share with you all of that kind of stuff. But just do kind of a recap of what it's like traveling, specifically single, as a single person and a solo person. So I think the two mean different things. So I'm single relationship status, and then I was traveling solo without friends, family, or anything like that. So I get a lot of different questions, so I kind of try to address it or talk about things that kind of circle around the types of questions that I get. What's up, Shana? Good morning. Good Saturday morning. Let me know if I sound okay. I'm hollow, I'm not using my mic, and the outside wind is howling like crazy. So first thing I do miss is a little bit of warm weather. It ain't cold, but it's chilly over here. So anyway, you guys, anybody who's new to the channel, welcome. First of all, hopefully this video and others I've posted encourage you guys to subscribe to my YouTube. You know, every little bit helps me grow my channel, which then allows me to share more of my adventures, let's call them adventures, and just information that I learned along the way with you guys and other people, which is my mission in life, is to share as much as possible. And also, you know, it increases my following for people who are interested in other services that I have, and that's on the real deal. So if you find this informative, please, if you don't mind, click the subscribe button, leave me a comment. Comments help it get into people's For You pages, and the algorithms kick in and they begin to see all these cool videos and things that I'm sharing with you, along with some of the other YouTubers out here. So anyway, y'all, let's get started, because I'm gonna try to, let me see if I can stay within my hour. And this is a Q&A too, so if you got questions, please feel free to ask. I'll try to answer in real time as I'm going, as well as come back to the video and answer any questions. All right, so first of all, y'all know I'm in Albania, and if you don't know, I'm in Albania. And I'm in Albania because I, number one, I want to say the main reason I landed here is because we have, as U.S. passport holders, we have a 12-month visa-free relationship with Albania. And so because of that is enough of a cue to make me come to Albania, right? Now, there are good times and better times to actually come. I don't know if there's like a bad time, but this is definitely off season. And so I'm taking this opportunity to kind of explore around parts of Europe that I haven't been, cities I haven't been to, but maybe some repeat countries, while the prices are a little bit more budget friendly and the crowds are quite a bit less. So hence I ended up in Greece, and I'll share with you some of the costs associated, but I'm probably going to jump into some other one-off videos to talk about some of those specifics around exact cost and different things. Unless it comes up here and we need to dive in, but try to kind of keep this as broad as possible and hit as many topics as possible. So first, I'll talk to you about where I've been so far in Greece, why I chose Greece, and then just a couple little tips about Greece, and maybe even I'll share a little bit about some of the islands that I went to, like what they're known for, and then talk about what my experience was, because I think that's one of the critical things that people want to know. It's, when we talk about going places and people want to know cost, you have places that more times than not, there's always a low and there's always a high, unless you're in places like the Maldives where it's $800 to take a ferry, USD, so those kinds of places are just like, you need to set aside like 10,000 just to go to. These kinds of trips, no, you do not. But can you spend 10,000? Absolutely. All right. I won't be covering those $10,000 trips, but I'll share with you how I move around, and and if you have things that are kind of put you in that bucket of how I travel, then this is very helpful. If you are someone who wants to travel like this, but you also have a bigger budget, this is helpful just the same. You just book at a higher rate. You fly first class. You stay in the $1,000 a night hotels, whatever. But this is going to be helpful for everyone. So I've been to 4 cities, 3 of which are islands in Greece. So I went to Corfu back in September when I first came to Albania to test out the waters. Then in the last 2 weeks, I flew into Athens. I went to Crete, and I went to, I say Aegina, but I think it's, Aegina, I think is how it's pronounced. Any Grecians on here, please let me know if the pronunciation is correct. Excuse me, y'all. Okay, so couple things about Greece. First of all, let me just tell you guys, I know a lot of people, and I always say this on my videos, I know a lot of people, and I always get somebody who says, no, not everybody. So I'm gonna say it anyway. I know a lot of people want to go to Greece. It's one of those things, I think it's just one of those places that it's especially for us in the States, it seems like a dream vacation and all that. And I think we associate dream vacation with cost as well, right? And so I never had this, like, it was never in my top 10 places. Like even now, as I have to adjust my top 10 as I'm going along. And sometimes my top 10 is more cities than it is countries. And it was never like one of those places, like if I had to spend $3,000 to go and visit, it wasn't in the top places that I was interested in, like really going to spend to spend that kind of money. There's other places I wanted to go to. So it wasn't like that, like one of those, oh my God, I gotta get there. But given the proximity, y'all know how I am about proximity. Given the proximity to where I am in the Balkans, you guys pull out your map. I don't know if I can pull out my map on here, but I'm in Albania, which borders Kosovo, Macedonia, and Greece to the west, right? The west of Greece, southeast of, or just south of Albania, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, and so in my kind of traveling by bus around Albania, I went to the southernmost city in Albania because everybody talks about Saranda and you should go there. Of all places you're gonna go, don't stay in Tirana, go to Saranda. Yeah. So I did. Caught a $20 bus down to Saranda, and looking online realized that you could take a $20 ferry over to Greece. So I did. So that was my first introduction to getting to Greece, and I really liked it. Secondarily, you know, the things that I've seen people do in Greece, it was always very limited outside of, you know, going to Athens and, you know, seeing Olympus and Poseidon and, you know, all those amazing structures. It was, you know, the white buildings with the blue roofs and the flying dresses, which I didn't really have necessarily an interest in doing. It'd be cute to do, but it wasn't on my top list of things to do. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when I get there? So when I went to Corfu and we did the hop on, hop off bus, and it's a decent sized island. I think Corfu, let's share with you some tips about each. I got notes, y'all, because I don't remember stuff. But Corfu has 50 beaches. It is a tourist kind of destination given its location off of Albania, but I think it's touristy for Albanians and Italians. It is a quick ferry. Like I said, from Albania, and it's a little bit of everything. So I think you can do some hiking there. Of course, you've got the beaches, you've got the small towns, you've got some of the historical things that are still in place, which I think, you know, I've shared some pictures and videos on YouTube and my other social media. So Corfu is one of those places where it's a little bit of everything that you can do, and it's if you're living in one of these Balkan countries or even Serbia, like I said, Macedonia, Bulgaria, places like that, it's a really nice, easy getaway, you know, to Greece. And you get a little bit of coastline as well, right? So that's why I ended up in Corfu. And when I saw how much I liked Corfu, and it wasn't just the fact that we were on an island and it was $20, like, I really liked the people. And the town was really cute. It reminded me of a European kind of town. If you go to Spain and stuff, and, you know, everybody's sitting in the streets, and, you know, everything comes to life at night, the lights are on the lawn, and people out and about, and, you know, but it was the friendliness, it was the kindness, it was the unpressured, like, I don't have to unlock you to get you to smile at me or say hello or, you know, interact in conversation, you know, or, you know, not look at me funny if I sit next to you, you know, or whatever the case may be. You know, we all have different experiences. And, you know, I share those with you guys one-on-one sometimes if you ask. But it was the energy that I felt like I got when I was there that was really appealing to me. And so I knew I was going to go back. So what that prompted for me was just looking to see if, you know, what other means of transportation and movability, you know, could I experience being here in Albania, wanting to go to Greece, as well as some of these other countries, which I'll probably hit in other videos like Italy and Montenegro and Croatia and Serbia, which I actually am going to go to Serbia probably one day. Who knew, right? But one of the things I did, and you guys know me, if you know me well, you know that I immediately go on to one of my favorite apps, which is Skyscanner. And I look to see, well, what's the cost to fly? And that's when, back in September, I was looking and finding prices as low as $14, $17 one way. Of course, with just carry on, which ain't that hard if you're moving about just short term, popping in and out of places from where I am in Albania. So that just set the wheels flowing a little bit more. And then I said, well, if I'm going to go to Greece, I might as well go while I'm next door. So that preempted even more so. So I went to the States, you know, for about 3 weeks in the September into October. And then I came back to Albania because here's me, I'm thinking, I got a year, I got 12 months, I can actually sit down. I don't have to worry about popping in and out of places. I didn't realize it was going to be cold here because I'm completely unprepared. But the 58 degrees here is the 58 degrees like Chicago 58 after winter 58. Anyway, but we can adjust. We can make adjustments for that. So upon returning back to Albania, I decided in this month to start looking around to see if there's other places that I would visit, places that if I do stay here for a year, where would I go for the 9 months, or the 90 days that we do have to leave the country. So you could stay for a year and then you have to vacate for 90 days. So where can I go? And so many of these countries around this area offer us a 90-day visa without applying, without it being a digital nomad visa, which is very nice. And so that kind of really got my wheels a turning. The second or third or fourth part of this was, you guys know I love the outdoors, you know, or you may not know, but now you know I love the outdoors, and I love mobility. I love being able to explore and, you know, be adventurous and find different things and be around people who are naturally friendly and kind and giving, you know, kind of people where, you know, it's like I said, you're not like tooth and nail trying to get them to hang out with you. But one of the other really cool things about Greece is the number of islands that they have. So that like it multiplies into the number of places that you can visit, right? So apparently there are, and I'm reading, 6,000 islands total in the Greece province area, what belongs to Greece. But of those, only 227 are occupied, which means that you can go to 227 islands. And so there's multiple ways to get to and from these islands. You could take ferries, you could, not all, but some of them have airports. So you can fly in and out. You can take buses because it's an island. But yeah, the ferry, if you got a car, if you got a bike, or whatever the case may be, there are those kinds of ferries where you can, like, even the smaller ones take cars. And they'll tell you, if you go online, they'll take cars. And I'll actually add some of the links in here that I use to move around. And I booked all my tickets in advance for the most part, or you can go directly to the booth. I just don't recommend that if you have a car, or if you have to be somewhere at a certain time, book in advance. But that's the tip I would give for anything. Okay, so when I went to Greece this go round, I started in Athens. Now, I don't know if you guys hear this all the time, but I don't know that I have heard one or more than one person, if any, say, I love Athens. Go and spend some time in Athens. Stay for more than 2 days. And I don't know if it's, to be fair, I don't know if it's because Greece has never really been on my list, so I haven't really been seeking out info about Greece until, you know, this fall. And so I just knew, all right, book my tickets. You guys know I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, so I typically only book a one-way. So the first thing I'm going to share with you guys is this notion around whether or not you have to have an onward ticket. And that means a ticket to leave the country. Some countries require that you show that you're leaving because they don't want to deal with trying to kick you out, right? And so they require that you show that. And some countries don't. Some say they do, and then they never ask, and then it's kind of like, just at least have it, and then it's better to have and not need than need and not have, right? And so I normally use something called onward ticket, buy the onward ticket, and that serves as your ticket to leave the country. It only costs $14. But given that the tickets were so cheap, I went ahead and I bought a return ticket from Greece back to Albania. Kind of wish I wouldn't have, but I'm glad I did so that I can come back and sort through my thoughts and figure out what's next, given I have an apartment that is paid for, that if I'm going too much longer, I'm just paying to have an apartment, right? And so you don't, I would get the onward ticket if you're worried about anything, or wait until you check in to see if they ask you for it. Which, in case if they do, just purchase it right there, you know. Get to the airport early enough so that you can do that in advance and show that you have a ticket, so on and so forth. They didn't even ask. Someone else said because it's Greece, they don't really care if you're like a U.S. passport holder and stuff like that. One of the other things I will share with you guys, and this happened both 3 times that I've been to Greece and leaving Greece, their immigration is enough to stress you. And it's not that there's any extra things that they have you do. They always seem to only have 2 staff members in the immigration booths. And leaving Greece this time by plane, the last time I was on a ferry, leaving Greece by plane this time, coming to Albania, I always have to remember that I am traveling to another country. I went through security like 3 times. Showed my boarding pass like 3 times, even to get into where our gate is. And other airlines or airports have this kind of system, but I just wasn't expecting it. And the line, it took 30 minutes. Like our gate was right there. Thank God, like they knew that our plane was delayed an hour. They just didn't tell us. But they were pushing everybody aside to let other people go through immigration, but they still only had like 2 people. It's like every time, I'm there and I'm coming in, all right, sorry you guys, it looks like it got disconnected for a second. Leaving Albania and coming back into Albania is much easier because it's all electronic, but Greece still stamps. So FYI, that's a little tip. Allow the time. Don't freak out, but just allow time. And this was in and out of Athens, so, FYI, in case. So you're not at least alarmed when you're just like, why don't they have enough, more than just two or 3 people. And then the third person that was working, instead of her going in a booth, which obviously that's just not her thing, she was just directing people where to go and that kind of thing. Okay, so like I said, this time I went to 3 islands, 2 islands and the main city, Athens. And I want to debunk everything you've heard when people say Athens ain't worth it. When people say you don't need any more time. Now I'm going to try to justify what I think, or explain what I think people mean when they say that, because there's different levels of traveling. There's vacation travel. I got 5 to 7 days, maybe 10. Holiday travel. There's short term. There's nomadic travel, and then of course there's expats who decide to go and live somewhere. And so I'm traveling as a slow man, so I'm kind of just, I can arrange time. I can stay longer if I want to. So I'm not rushed. And, so 7 days, 227 islands. Would I stay in Athens longer? Probably not, right? So I understand it from that perspective. But if you are someone who is just kind of recapping and talking about the city as a whole, as a part of Greece, it's really cool. It's a really rich European country. Is Greece European? Yeah, Greece falls in the Europe category, right? I forget where the Asian line picks up and all of that. But I was pleasantly surprised because I wasn't expecting it to be so lovable. I didn't expect for it to be so rich. I didn't expect the people to be just so jovial and welcoming and warm and friendly, and all the cozy little restaurants and the nooks and the crannies, and you walk out of your apartment and Acropolis is right there, and you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. But that's what I got, and I loved it. Like, I was just like, this is, like, I can live here. Like, I can live in Greece. And it just sounds so weird because I never, I think I'm getting that. I think 2023 is the year of, because I said the same thing about Vietnam. I was like, why would I? Thank God I listened to a friend who told me about it last year. And same for South Korea. Another friend was like, yeah, I went and I loved it. And I was like, really? Like, what is there in South Korea? Fantastic. All right. So one of my mottos is listen twice as less as you do. Only works in some things because you technically should listen more, but don't allow the things that people say to completely stop you along your path and your journey, unless somebody is, telling you that the island just sunk into the ocean. Please don't go there. Okay. So I was pleasantly surprised by Athens. I was pleasantly surprised with how clean it is, as well as how safe I felt. And while I was there, I met some people, so I ended up hanging out with people. I was in Athens 3 or 4 days, 4 days maybe, 4 days. And then I was moving on because, now as I'm seeing how much there's access to, I wanted to kind of see what else I could like get into, if I could do some island hopping and so on and so forth. So I did 4 days, and ended up meeting a couple who was there for their anniversary, and we ended up hanging out, ended up doing a wine tasting somewhere, and the lady was super nice. I will go there again. I'll leave that information in the description. It's called Fine Wine. It's in the Plaka area. Really, yeah, Plaka. I think it's called Plaka. It sounds like Plaka. Yeah, it's Plaka because I think I made the reference to Plaka. Anyway, really awesome people. And then I ended up meeting someone else my last touring day when I was checking out a lot of the this one of the other big areas with a lot of the building artifacts and stuff like that there. And she was traveling for her birthday and from the States, and so we ended up hanging out for dinner and walking around town, and she showed me a whole nother part that I hadn't seen because she stayed for a week. And so I know places that I would go back to. I am kind of pretty sure which areas I would potentially live in short term, so it would be like 2 months to 3 months, something like that, right? And so Athens was a surprise. Athens was a surprise. And even all of the artifacts and things that you see, you've got multiple ways to see things. You can pretty much walk. If you base your hotel around Acropolis, you can walk to everything. So I'll give you a tip. I did, from a touristy standpoint in Athens, it can be expensive. So first I'll just tell you, flying in was cheap. But the airport is about 45 minutes from Athens, and it's going to be about 45 euro. Okay, and they do have Uber. They don't have Uber anywhere else except in Athens, so you can do Uber. They have a ride share there. It's called Free Now, but again, it only works in Athens. You won't be able to use that on any other island. So please take that of note. So yeah, 45 euro, which is about 52. Quick math. I don't know if we're like $1.06, $1.20, something like that. Exchange rate with Europe. It was 106 in September. So anyway, so something like that. Just keep that in mind. I did get a SIM card because neither of my phones are eSIM ready. If you are going to be traveling like I am, or doing pop in, pop out, short-term travel, check your mobile devices to see if they are eSIM compatible. If they are eSIM compatible, you do not need to buy a SIM card. You could just sign up for the service before you go, when you land, whatever the case may be, and you will have access to data using your eSIM. I would prefer that method for popping in and out of places over the fact that I have to buy a SIM card everywhere I go, and that's my preference. But that's an overall travel tip. That's not necessarily a Greece thing. So I'll share more about those kind of intricacies in another video. So just all in all, that part is fairly easy. Getting into town from the Uber, you can actually also take a train. And I believe they have buses, but it's definitely going to take probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours on a bus. Even from the center of town, I think it'll take at least an hour 30, so allow for that. But they also have metro trains, and the trains go as well. I did not try that out this time, y'all. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. So mobility of getting around is really easy. Like I said, they have multiple modes of transportation. And there, as far as sightseeing and seeing tours, they do have, I think, like 20 hop on, hop off bus options. They got a yellow one, they got a blue one, they got 2 red ones, they got a green one, they got a white one, blah, blah, blah. Tons of hop on, hop off options. But like I said, if you're in the center, if you're in Athens and you like get a hotel like right around that area, you can pretty much walk everywhere, just allow time. So one quick tip about Athens tours. So the tours aren't super cheap, like a lot of times sometimes, depending on what it is, I'm looking for things under $50. If it's like, it's going to places that I know I can hop on, hop off, or I can walk to. I don't want a tour that's $150 to go and see Acropolis. You're outside. You can read the words on the thingy. Of course, you'll get more from somebody telling you the story and all of that, so it kind of depends on what you want to do. But it's also super packed when they have these tours with 50 people. I went by myself. That's how I met the other couple. And I mean, you get the full experience. You stay as long as you want. You're not rushed. You can move around the way that you like. And one of the things that they offer at Acropolis at the ticket office, you can buy a 5-day pass. The 5-day pass gives you access to, I think it's like 8 places for $30. So Acropolis by itself is like $14. And then the other places are anywhere between $4 and $10 entry. So if you do 3 things, you've spent more than, depending on the 3, you've probably spent more than $30 or the $30 to go ahead and pay for the 5-day. It's 5 consecutive days, but you get 5 days to go and explore any of those places, including Acropolis, which is why a lot of people go. Neat thing about Acropolis, y'all, I swear you could see Acropolis from anywhere. Like, I was like over in like, I don't know, in the boot, because I ended up my last hotel that I stayed at, I got this apartment kind of in a local area. It was across from the Olympian Zeus's house, Zeus's temple. It was across from there. But like, if you look up, you could see Acropolis. And the Acropolis was like, so it's kind of interesting. It's almost anywhere you are in Athens, except maybe the coast, because I don't know if I can see it from the coast, but you can see Acropolis, so it's kind of cool. Hey, Soshi, where are you tuning in from? So yeah, one of the things that my experience with the tours is I didn't do any. I didn't do any. And the other thing that you'll find too is if you're going to buy tickets at Acropolis or something like that, there's tour guides standing outside asking people if they want to join a tour, and you basically can pay right then for a tour guide. And I think it ends up being like an extra $20 or something, which is actually fairly cheap, but it's just for Acropolis, I think. So just keep that in mind. So if you actually want to have a tour, it's literally you walk up the steps and you're like, oh, you're right there, right? And it's at one of the highest peaks in the city, and it's in the center. It's like right in the center, and it's really neat when you look at it in proximity to the bathhouse and the other Agora building thingy. Y'all don't remember all these names, but when you're looking at all of these the village kind of setup that is like below, so Acropolis was up here, but I'm thinking that the village housing and stuff was down below, and you can see all of that, the ruins of it, but you can see what it kind of was like. They also had like a water clock, which is how they learned how to tell time or started figuring out telling time and all of that. So it's kind of neat, but you can do it on your own. So you basically pay the $30 and you got 5 days to explore those places. Go multiple times if you want. It's unlimited, except Acropolis. Acropolis, you got to go that day and you can only go once. So you have to repay to go to Acropolis. So get all your pictures and everything while you're there that time, okay? And like I said, for anything else, the museums, there's a library, there's the 2 Agora places, all of that is separate, but you can get it in that ticket. So to me, it was well worth the $30. I ended up using it for 3 days. So I got my money's worth, right? And that was kind of like Athens, right? Athens was, like I said, in a nutshell, it was a surprise. It was more than what I expected, and a very welcomed surprise, a welcomed experience. Food was good as well. We ate at, the restaurants that are on the streets, and had a wine tasting that was so amazing and informative. She pulled out the map to show us where the wines were from, and why it was, important to note it from that area, and why the notes of the grapes tasted the way that they did. I mean, she was amazing. It was like $50 per person with charcuterie boards, and she made us another one because we ate it all. This is really, really a good, fun time there. Even with people on the street who didn't know if I was a tourist or not, just walking up and down the street, popping in the little stores, a little restaurant here and there, a vegan shop over here, and just drumming up conversation. And yes, a lot of people speak English. Everybody speaks Greek, but a lot of people speak English. But you'll learn some words like yasas and yasu. Both saying hello. One is more formal than the other. Yasas is, I think, the one that they say to everybody. Yasu is more formal, or maybe I might have them twisted, but you'll hear everybody say yasas. If you hear people say sas or ya, like half and half of the words, it's like, hey, what's up, or hello, welcome. And what else did I learn? I'm getting my words mixed up with Albanian. I'll think of it. It might have been thank you. What's thank you? I can't remember now. Yeah, I was just yesterday. Spelmadera is Albanian. Pershendetje is Albanian. Yasas is Greek, and I can't remember. So anyway, that's what I thought of Athens. And then when I left Athens, what I ended up doing was going to the coast, and I decided to take a ferry. So multiple ways to travel around. Another reason why I like Greece so far, because this is like me kind of tallying as I was going, as I was there last week, or up until yesterday. Okay, let's see about taking this ferry. And y'all, okay, so in my mind, I'm thinking it's a ferry with like a deck and bench seating. So when I took the ferry, we did 2 ferries. This other lady that I met here in Albania, she ended up hanging out with me when I went down to Corfu in Saranda. Anyway, the first ferry we took over was a bigger ferry. It wasn't huge, but it was a bigger ferry. You could put cars on it and all of that. But the top 2 levels were outside bench seating. So when somebody says bench seating, that's what I'm thinking, right? But this ferry I was deciding to take, I was heading to Crete. I decided, of all the places, all the islands, Crete is the next largest island. It is the most southern island in the Greek island community, if we want to call it that, known for their olive vineyards. You call it a vineyard? Yeah. And olive making, wine making, hiking, and beaches, and all these towns with historical attachments to them. Crete is huge. But when I was asking people to advise and give suggestions of places to go, nobody suggested Crete until I said, well, what about Crete? And it was like, oh yeah, the places I would go, especially off season Crete. And I was like, I wonder why nobody just thinks Crete in the first place. Anyway, I had mixed feelings about Crete. Crete was Crete was, I felt more welcomed and opened in everything, I would say, in terms of people just speaking to you, and, you know, you not having to like summons people 15 times who aren't doing anything in a restaurant to serve you. I felt like it was just better in Athens. You know, it's just a different energy, and maybe because it's more of a city feel or whatever, I'm not sure. But in any case, I did like Crete. I love the coast. I love that the fact that you could rent a car. Met a girl there. She had a rental car, and I ended up hanging out with her for a day, and we drove to the beach. We did an olive oil. They also have olive oil making, an olive oil tasting, which was free 99. And then we went to a beach and had dinner and all that kind of stuff, and it was super super cool getting around. And that was only on the west coast of the island. There's the whole east coast side, which you could basically take a plane from. Can you fly from Hania? I think they have like 3 airports there too. 3 or 4 different ferry ports as well. I mean, it's like 2.5 hours from one side to the other, maybe 3 or 4 when you go to the extremes. So Crete is a huge, huge place, and definitely worth checking out, especially in the off season if you're looking for something that is kind of like all inclusive in terms of you can get everything. There's hiking there, there's exclusive like isolated beaches, there's pink sand beaches. I have some pink sand too, y'all. It's somewhere in one of these, where my pink sand is, but I got pink sand. And it was chill. It's off season, so it was just really chill there. The temperature was a mild, between 65 and 73, 74, so it was right up my alley. Even at the beach, it was nice. It was windy, but it was still really nice temperature. One thing about Greece to know, there's cats everywhere. And when I say cats, and I'm talking about stray cats, y'all, these cats look like mountain lions. These are the biggest. I ain't never seen cats this big in my life. These cats are like, that's just the body, that's just the torso. These cats are huge, and they're so docile. They're just so friendly. They just will sit. Now they do want your food, but they won't beg. In Greece, none of them jumped on the table until, no, that was here, and that was here in Albania. So I've never seen one jump on the table. They will sit and look at you. They seem to always be guarding areas where you're not supposed to go. And the tourist locations, I was like, I don't know if they're like, you know, guards or what they are, but tons of cats. So just FYI, if you're allergic, I don't know if it'll bother you or not, but they're everywhere. Okay, they climb in and out of boats. A friend that I met, one of the things that he said he had to be aware of is kind of waking up and you've got these eyes staring at you, and it's because the cats are on the boat looking for food. FYI, who knew? Okay, all right, so Crete. I just shared with you what the things that what Crete is well known for, and I actually I enjoyed Crete. I would go back to Crete, but before, like, Crete would potentially be a place that I would consider living, maybe. But what I look for is where the ferries go. Are there flight options because it's so far away? And the overall cost. So Greece is more expensive than Albania, just FYI, if anybody wants to know. It is more expensive, but it is off season. And so One of the other questions is why do I pick where I go? Or why do I stay or why do I leave? And one of the reasons I would consider going there would be during the off months, i.e. winter, which is now, because it's only going to get colder here. It gets colder there, but it won't be as cold as it is here. So I'm just looking at different options to pass through. Because y'all know this is my life. Like, it's not come back to the States. That's the last option, the last straw. It's where can I go while I'm out here? And I was trying to hold off on doing Asia until next year. Although initially it was going to be January when I was going to go back. So lots of things up in the air. I don't know, but I kind of want to stay over here in Europe because there's so many places I actually want to see, and to physically already be here and fly around from the cities here is just makes more sense. It's better on the pocket. It's easier for mobility, moving around, and decreases the thing called jet lag. Like, most of the flights are an hour, maybe 2 hours, unless you got a layover or something like that. You can do cats, but that's a bit much. I'm gonna show pictures. I'm gonna do like a video with some pictures of these cats. And I ended up talking, I don't know who I was talking to, probably one of the other Americans, and they were like, yeah, I've never seen cats this big. Like, we would call them overweight, but they were healthy. Like, every single cat was this big, and they was everywhere. So, note to self. Okay, so I know most people, when they think of going to Greece, you think of Athens for a couple of days, Mykonos, Santorini. I'm trying to think of any other ones that people normally. Thessalonica, but that's not an island, but it's just another city north of Athens. People go there. So I would say that. But to tell you like the differences and, I think what the draw is, Santorini is, the nickname is the Island of Love. It's like the romantic destination with the white and the blue houses, and most of the hotels and stuff in Santorini have the private swimming pool, wading pool thingy in the front of your unit and stuff like that. So it's really catered to, the more romantic or just chill, because it doesn't have to be a romantic getaway. I could go and still get the same thing. And it's, I think it's for, people who want to go and kind of have a chill, relax, more like a spa-like type vacation. Mykonos is known as the party island. So that's where everybody goes to party. Right now, everything is pretty much shut down. So you can go, there's not going to be a lot that you're going to see. But it's kind of no different. I was in Portugal in a town called Carvoeira. I mess it up every time, but it's down by Faro, in between Faro and Lagos. And in the winter time, it's still nice. It does rain, but it's really warm. You just have to go to the grocery store because a lot of the restaurants, the more the different types of restaurants and things like that, most of those are closed. And so you get that kind of the same feeling concept in these places. So if you're going there to party, don't go during winter time, but you could go there in the winter time to, just explore the island and probably get some better rates, right? All right, and then we did Crete and Corfu. And I'm gonna talk about the last island, Aegina, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it is in the Saronic Islands. It is a 40-minute fast ferry ride, or an hour, 10-minute, hour, 10 minutes normal ferry ride from Athens. So the interesting thing is I was in Crete. I took a ferry, and I'll talk more about the ferry experience probably in a separate video unless you guys have specific questions about the ferry. But I took an overnight ferry. I will say this right out of the gate. Felt very safe. I did the ferry 2 different ways, going there and coming back in terms of seating and type of ticket I bought just to see the difference, see how comfortable I would feel by myself with my bags, kind of just out in the open or in a place where I was allocated an actual seat. So I'll talk about that probably in a separate video. Price is great, between 32 to 48 euro for an overnight ferry, which is about a 9-hour ride on the water. And these ferries, you guys, are like, mini cruise boats. And that I was really surprised about. But I ended up taking a ferry back to Athens, and then I took a ferry over to Aegina because there weren't any direct ferries from Crete to Aegina. Not a big deal, because once I got into port in Athens, instead of going into town, I just stayed at the dock and looked online, found a route that I was, wanted to take, and jumped on the next boat. Took me an hour and a half to get to the island. Went to the island and ended up staying over in Aegina for a day. Left the next day and then headed back to Athens. So the nice thing is it's so easy to move around. Aegina, I did like. I actually like the port so much better than the Athens. Is it Puree? I think that's how they say it, because it throws me off every time someone says Puree port, because it looks more like a town. Like, you pull in, all the restaurants are on the promenade, you can walk up and down it. A couple streets over, you got all the boutique shops and stuff. You can eat on, in the little alleyways, and then they got the market, which is where I went to get stuff for my day trip on a boat. And then, everything is like right there. Not sure if it's a place that I would live, but staying there the way that I ended up staying on a boat for the duration of the time I was there until I went back to Athens. And that was just something that happened. I'm really a spontaneous traveler, very spontaneous. And sometimes opportunities come up. I'm always looking for different ways to accommodations and things like that. And so this opportunity came up and I took it. And so I ended up staying a couple of nights on a yacht, sailboat basically, and got to experience the islands that way, and headed back to Athens from Aegina. And then from there, we went to Athens, but we went to a southern city, and then from there caught an Uber back to the airport. And so, all of this stuff, it was just like so easy to move around. Mobility was awesome. Being picked up, the staff, they get out of the car, put your bag in the car for you. I know that sounds really weird, but you go to places and the drivers won't get out. Even in the States, a lot of times they don't get out and help you. They pull up, you get your stuff in the car. Eastern Santorini is beautiful, but looks too hilly, although I need the exercise. You know what? All of the places, I think I was commenting on that with one of my friends there, that when you're at the base, you're far enough back and you look up, everything just looks like it's like cascading, up into the mountain. And then some mountains there's like nothing. And then some it even goes even further. So it's like, how did they pick which ones to actually live in, to cohabitate in, or whatever. So it's actually really beautiful, and it is probably hilly. I will say, let me think about this. If Athens was hilly. Athens was hilly. So where I stayed, I was 1 block from Acropolis. Getting to the promenade where you walk around and the ticket booth is right there, it was like a hill. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. So yeah, it's great because I thought to myself, I was like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm in Portugal, because that's one of the things that I actually loved about Portugal was you always felt like you was climbing a hill. Oh, that's a pepper. But it's really, it's so nice. It's so nice and so comfy. Agina, which is the island, I think it's the biggest island in the Saronic Island cluster. It's got the oldest Greek civilization. Like I said, 1 hour from the mainland. Mild weather. And just, yeah, just a cool little town on the side that we were on, and then you could drive around from there. They had motorbikes and stuff like that. I think it was pretty easy to get on the bus and go around. I didn't see no hop on, hop off situation there, but it looks like it's a pretty easy place to maneuver about. And then one of the things I just want to share with you guys just about Greece in general is food-wise, so many things. They produce quite a few things that we eat that, you know, we may not associate with Greece. And of course, there's multiple regions and countries that produce these particular items, but they are so fantastic in Greece. First of all, their vegetables and their fruits, but specifically their vegetables are like so vibrant and rich and flavorful. Y'all was in heaven. They have 500 different types of feta cheese, or just cheeses in general. But if you get a feta, a lot of times it's the hard, but it's wet kind of feta. Oh, it's so good. It's usually goat. If not, it's sheep or goat, something like that. I think the sheep is the softer one. Anyway, you're gonna learn your cheeses, because you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I want cheese on there. But some of it is like cottage cheese. So if you're not a cottage cheese person, just be in the know that, you know, that might be what you get, and you'll be like, oh, it's so soggy, you know, or it's not what I was expecting. So when something says cheese or something like that, make sure you ask what type and see if they'll explain it to you or show you a picture of it, because it can make or break your dish. Kalamata olives, there's a place called Kalamata there, but olives are everywhere. They were talking about the trees, and these trees are 200 years old. The older the tree, the better the olives, you know, the darker the berry, the sweeter, whatever. Anyway, all of that. The olive oil, we actually, like I said, went to an olive oil tasting in Crete, and they showed us the entire operation of producing olive oil, what the difference is in olive oil, virgin olive oil and extra virgin olive oil, and why you should only really eat extra virgin olive oil. You can cook with virgin, but anything less than that you really don't want to. I don't like cooking with olive oil, but I think getting cold pressed, pasteurized and heated olive oil, I would probably cook with, and knowing that it doesn't have chemicals in it that increase the burn index. That's a whole nother topic. For another day. Don't be bad talking about my cottage. Oh, you eat cottage cheese? My bad. Like, I eat it too, like in things. Like this sauce I just used today had cottage cheese, but sometimes like you be like I would be looking forward to that the crumblier or like the harder coarse cheese with the way that they make these one meal. It's a dolca or something like that, and it's got the bread, and it's got the olives, the pepperoncinis, and the spicy pickles, and the tomato, and the tomato's already pureed, so it's already gonna be wet, and then they pile it on with this cheese. But I thought it was gonna be that firmer cheese. Oh, I was so disappointed. So that's why I said because I knew what I was looking forward to. And then pistachios, y'all. There's Greek pistachios. So I think Crete or Aegina, but I think it's Crete is actually the island of the pistachio. And they're actually really good pistachios. So when you're there, those are the things that you need to make sure you pick up. And if you're doing the pistachios, if you're in Agena, go to this little shop in the second street over. There's a market, and next to the market, there's two shops. There is a pistachio shop, and it's family owned. And these people are so awesome. I swear to God, they gave me every piece of candy, everything that they've made in that store. The two times that I walked in there and bought everything, wine and different options that let you taste everything. They're just the father. Every time I was in, he was trying to give me the new bowl. We just made this one today. This is a new edition. You gotta try. Just awesome. You sit outside, have a little coffee with them, try little different dishes and things like that. And the prices are reasonable. One of the things I was going to share, so I'm going to go over my hour because I want to talk a little bit about cost, is like I said, Greece is more expensive than Albania. It is almost comparable to US in terms of like spending, but then I feel like eating out is less because the dining style to me is more fine dining almost anywhere. So for example, a coffee is going to be like $4 on average in Greece, whereas in the States, I guess you pay about $3, $4, $5 at Starbucks or something like that, but it's Starbucks, right? And I know I am not trying to like squat on none of y'all's, Starbucks, but like when you get authentic coffee and cappuccinos and it's whisked properly and all of that, it's so good. It's so good and fulfilling, and it seems so personable. I don't know, but anyway, it's $4, which is 3 times the price of what it is in Albania. So a fantastically made non-instant coffee cappuccino, or they give you a whole carafe or an Americano in most places, is like $1.50. So it kind of throws you off. I'm like, dang, I was just paying like, and with my tip, it was 200 lek, which is about $2. And then you go over there, and without tip, you're paying $4 for a coffee, right? So the balance. Food, though, interestingly enough, you could be in a more upscale restaurant, and the dishes can start off at like €3, $6.50. And what's interesting is the portions are usually really big. So you'll think that you got to order an appetizer, and you got to order a main dish, and you got to have a side for this and all of that. And you really don't need to, otherwise you're going to end up with too much food. So you could easily walk out of a place if you don't get a glass of wine or a beer or something like that. You can easily walk out and spend $10 to $12. If you drink nothing but water, easily under $10 for a meal. So if that puts things in perspective, their wine, usually their house wine. Most amazing thing I find in Albania and in Greece is their house wines. Not like what's the 3 Horses or whatever we drink in the States as a house wine, and it's like, it's like, it's okay if I was going in the store and buying it from Walmart myself, but I don't necessarily want to go to a restaurant and get it. Their house wines here, I got a whole carafe of rosé. And rosé, y'all know rosé is expensive in the States. This whole carafe of rosé was like $2.50. No, maybe it was more than that because I got the 500 milliliter. Now that seems like too much. But it was a whole carafe. It was like this much. So it was like 4 small glasses of wine. And I'll have to look. I don't think it was more than €4. Something like that. Here in Albania, a glass of wine, and when I say glass, they don't be like giving you 2 ounces. They give you a full 4.5 to 5 ounces. It's like $2.50. So it's like amazing. You can have your good wine, a good meal for like $10, right? It just occurred to me that you've traveled enough to write a book summarizing your Thank you. I understand how your palate wants what it, girl. Yeah, because you be looking, you like, ooh, that was good with the Kalamata olives, and then you got the good bread, and they got this Luger, Kura, Kuka, whatever bread. It's the hard bread, and you think you can like, and everything is just wet. And I don't like really wet consistency foods. I don't like really mushy things. So anyway. Thank you. Yes, I need somebody to do the writing for me, like stenograph or something. I don't know. That's why I have the hardest time recapping things because there's so much that I experience, so much that I visually see and feel, and all of it is part of what I want to share. And so that's why, like, when I do share, it's just like a it just rolls out and just things upon and thoughts and things to share and all of that kind of stuff. So, but thank you. I think I have traveled a little bit to at least impart a little bit of what I've experienced onto others. So you guys know what to kind of expect. Everybody's experience is going to be slightly different, but know what you can and cannot, or what you can look forward to expect, right? So, question was, would I go back to Greece, given that it was not on my original list of places to go, to visit, it wasn't on my short list. Let's put it like that. The answer, drum roll, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm seriously considering going there for the winter. Like, honestly, I'm seriously considering it. I've already started looking at apartments, what the price ranges are going to be. Can I negotiate short term for 2 months? Which you can, most places, because they're sitting empty right now. So you find somebody who would normally be renting, and this is when it's really awesome to kind of meet people who also travel to and from places and only go during winter months. One of the things that I got to see in Agena, because I was on the boat, was going to one of the piers and to see all of these huge yachts. And at first I thought they were like charter boats because they were almost all identical. They just looked like it. And I was like, oh my God, they're just huge. It was just hundreds. And the owner of the boat that I was on was like, oh yeah, these people maybe come once a year, maybe twice a year, a week or two, maybe in the summer, maybe a little bit longer. They don't use these boats very often. And I was just like, oh. And the amount that they're paying, because you pay by size as well. And what he was paying per day, theirs was probably 5 times as much. So I'm talking about hundreds of dollars per day to park a boat in a marina. Y'all. I'll look after the boat. Holla at your girl. I'm learning. I am learning all kinds of things. I stayed on a boat for two weeks in Thailand and a couple of days just 2 days ago. And I know it's my calling. I know it is. I feel it in my soul. I just need to read the sailbook boat because I don't know nothing. I could tell your answer would be yes. You could tell my answer was gonna be yes. Yes, I would go back. Now I'm gonna get to the last and important thing that I'm gonna talk about on this, because I talked about basic costs, I talked about touring costs, I talked about the ferries a little bit, the options to move around, the different cities that I went to, some of the attractions, I talked about that too. Y'all might have missed it because I kind of all mix it all in there. What the particular islands are known for, and then like how I overall feel about the place. So the last thing I'm gonna talk about is diversity and dating. Shannon, what's your thought on, if you had to guess whether or not Greece would be a cool place, a good place to date for our demographic? Just women in general, but Black women specifically, because I get that specific question. So I do want to answer that specific question. What do you think? Do you think we are successful there, or that we need to keep it moving? And then the other thing I want to talk about is diversity, because one of the things that I do look for in places is that I don't necessarily have to go to a place where, the ratio is 5 to 1, it's like hundreds of us in terms of, Black community from America, or, local brown skinned people or whatever, I don't necessarily have to have that, but what I look for is diversity in the way people behave, the way people act, that you're, first of all, not so struck by color when color doesn't matter. And it's a big thing for me. Like, I talk about this as often as I can, because color matters, but when you say color doesn't matter and then you stare at a person, or the only thing that throws your attention is the fact that they are a different color, then color does matter, right? So we gotta like give onus to it, because that nuance does exist, right? So acknowledging it. So when I'm talking about diversity, from me, it's not just, what's the percentage of locals and, natives as opposed to foreigners and stuff like that. Now, I'm really necessarily looking for that in particular. I do like a balance. I love to be in places where I can, I prefer to be in places where there is a larger nomadic traveling group. Not necessarily expats, immigrants. Conversation for another day. But people who travel like me. We could stay for a year, or we could stay for 2 weeks. But I find that at all levels we travel different, and the way that we kind of commune with each other is slightly different. We have commonalities, of course, because we're travelers, but there's a different level from being an immigrant and like living 100% in a place versus I'm there longer term but not permanent, versus I'm on a 3-day pop in, pop out, versus I'm on a dream vacation, right? All those yield different types of people, and the conversation is completely different, y'all. When I tell you it's different, the conversation is completely different. I would say Greece is a good place for Black women to date. We're desired almost everywhere, girl. Yes, we are. And let me just tell you though, the options and the availability and the desire is 100. And the easiest way to usually tell, and I just actually did this when I came to Albania the first time, is to use one of the apps, whether it's the dating or the friend apps that they have, to see how you connect with people. So Facebook and all of that you can use to connect, to see if people respond to you and stuff like that. But a lot of times you get more Americans and or northern Americans, who usually are the ones who respond in the groups. You do get people from other places and stuff like that, but I feel like North Americans will respond to North Americans, and then every now and again you get like a little sprinkling of something else. That's just kind of the experience of what I see like on social media type posts. But when you're in some of the groups, it's just kind of an open thing. Like it's not nationality, it's just, hey, there's people in the group, they want to, hang out. Or if you're on the dating app and however you communicate on the app. I just found that, considering I just started using one The last time I actually used one, y'all, was like probably 15 years ago. Somebody was like, oh, you should try it. And I was like, never again. And so I literally was going to cancel. I was using the BFF option, which, you know, you find, and it's usually women in the BFF because guys don't ever sign up for BFF. I think it's best friends, something like that. Find a friend. It's the dating one that you'll find most of the guys on, but like it blows up. You know, when you can go to different places if you set it on travel. I don't know if they're all the same, but this is just a little thing about the dating. But if you like lock it like this is where I live, you get a different caliber of people as well. But you'll see like 250 hearts, like people that kind of match your criteria or in the area or whatever, or open or on the app. Whereas here in Albania, like it's really, for me, it has been really narrow. And one of the things I want to tell you guys, and this is something I brought up about Albania, for me, I get limited like connectivity with people on that level because I filter out smokers. And nothing against my smoking friends, but I realize, and that's something that I share because it's a big thing. A lot of people smoke. A lot of people smoke. I think Albanians smoke more than Greek people, but a lot of people do smoke. And so from that perspective, you know, I kind of have to wade in the water little different ways. But what I did find is that Greek people, I found in the selection, there's a lot more like active people, you know. It just seemed like it. And it's just based on who's in the app. It's not indicative of everybody in town because maybe just, all right, just cut out a second ago. And you said treatment matters, girl. Yes, it does. And it's very welcoming to go to a place and, you know, people aren't shocked. Like, oh, you exist. You know, it's not like that. I mean, like sometimes that can be like, oh, wow, they've never been out of the village. But sometimes you get to a point where you're just like, it's just another body. It's just another person walking around. They just happen to have different features or colorings, or their hair is a different texture, you know. For me, sometimes I just get to a point where I just don't want people to notice me because I am, you know, the shade darker or whatever the case may be. It's more like, here's the things that I enjoy. Do we match up on any of those things? And can we sit and chat? And I feel like I ended up, I was doing video, buying some stuff for the boat trip, and walked through the fish market. And I was taking a little video. And of course, they want to, you know, see if you're going to buy anything. I don't eat fish. I don't eat eyeballs, anything with an eyeball anymore. And so I was like, you know, I'm okay. And then the guy was like, where are you from? And I usually don't answer. I usually just keep going or say heaven. Heaven is now my new response. Or I'll say I'm from everywhere. You know, I travel full time and stuff. But now people specifically will say, where were you born? And so we were talking. I said, well, I live in Albania right now. He was like, no, because he didn't believe that, right? Because they were like, first of all, everybody I told in Greece that I live in Albania was like, you like Greece better, don't you? I was like, why would you say that? What would make you think that I would like Greece more? He's like, well, we're friendlier here. I was like, okay. I meet so many friendly people in Albania, but I admit it's kind of like you got to crack the seal to get the friendliness to go, you know. Whereas over there, people are they just smile, you know. You don't have to try to figure out if they're mad that morning. But anyway, the guy that I was talking to in the fish market, we were just talking about Albania, and he was like, yeah. I said, told him which town I stayed in. He was like, oh, really? And I still think he was kind of like, oh, you just making that up. But then he was like, what part of town? And I told him a few things around here and there, and, you know, catching the bus and this. And he was like, wow, you really do live there or whatever. I was like, yeah, at least for the time being. And, you know, and he's from there, but he lives in Greece. And there's a lot of bleed over from Italy, Greece, Albania. You'll see just a mix in all of the cities, specifically the coastal towns. You'll see quite a bit of it, and specifically Albanians and Greece were Athens or the Saronic Islands because of the proximity to Albania. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And he was just very friendly. We're just chatting it up and everything, and yeah, carry on. Now, would that conversation have transpired in Albania? Sometimes it does, but again, it's like if you speak first, then they're like, you know, and not everybody, I've had some people kind of still look and go, this guy I was sitting next to on the bus on my way to the airport, he was like, I sat next to him and it was almost like I didn't catch it at first. And it might have just been the way he was sitting. It might be his normal everyday face, but it was everybody. It was kind of like, leprosy. Just walked in and sat down, like, So you just hit them with Persian bacon. And then they're like, oh, you know a word. That's all I know. I only know 2 words. That's it. So I can't tolerate smoke either. Yeah, it's tough. I will say everybody is very respectful. Well, to a certain extent, like restaurants allow smoking and most everything is open air. So that kind of sucks. Because I always tend to sit down and somebody ends up sitting and it always just, and I just personally don't want it in my clothes and in my hair, nor do I want to inhale it. But most people, if they're in the car, because typically taxi drivers and stuff, they smoke while they're driving in the car. But every time I've had them ask me, because they want to be respectful. And that's even in Albania. They're like, it's okay if I smoke? And I was like, can you keep it out there? He goes, oh, I'll wait. And he said to respect you, senora. What do you call it? I think that's your senior. He didn't say senoritas, I think. Anyway, so they're most of them are conscious, I think, especially if you make a face. But like when you're sitting in the restaurants, that's probably like the hardest thing because they don't necessarily have separate areas. Some of them even still allow smoking on the inside, which is like, you can't get away, right? So just keep that in mind as well. But from a diversity standpoint, I feel like Greece is very diverse. And even on the smaller islands, like in Aegina, it was really, I felt like I saw more Black and brown people there on that little promenade in this little island off the coast, more so than I saw. Like Crete, I didn't see any except myself, if I'm not mistaken, except the last day I was leaving, it was probably like a teenage girl, but she looked like she was there maybe for school something, I'm not sure. So I was surprised about that in Crete. I was really surprised because, and maybe it was just where the location I was in just isn't necessarily the area where people are. But diversity wise, I feel like because there's just people from so many different places, plus you got Turkey right next to it, and you go over a little bit more, you got Cyprus, and then of course you got Israel, and Egypt and everything is right below us, and you got Malta, and then you got Northern Africa. So I mean, everything, the proximity to so many of these places is right there. It's just, Greece to me is just extremely diverse. And so what I did find myself in conversations with people, asking them where they originally were from, even though they lived in Greece or they live in Greece now. I would find myself asking, is this where you're from? One of the other people I met there was he's Israeli, but his background is Russian, and but now lives in Greece. Well, he lives where life takes him. So I love meeting people like that. I love meeting people who have kind of a broad base and an experience, because then it broadens me even more. You know, when I meet someone who's talking about a place that I've never been to or never even considered, and then I'm like, all right, I'm putting it on my radar. That's how Serbia popped up. Somebody said something to me, and I was like, yeah, well, no, I. I'm thinking freezing cold. It's not like that all the time, but you know, all of that, and it's like the next border. Well, kind of a little border up there between Kosovo and North Macedonia. Um, and somebody's there and she's like, I love it. And, you know, she's black, woman solo, living there. And I'm like, I'll wait until the weather breaks because I'm not going to go from cold to cold because I'm over this cold. But wasn't an option. And started looking up some stuff about the country. And then I'm like, maybe I should check it out. So all in all, you guys, Greece was this little short, generic kind of recap of where I was and what I did, how I kind of moved around. It's really, really general. I definitely want to kind of break down a little bit more of the costs and, you know, things that I found as I started doing a little bit more research around longer term stays, different islands that other people have recommended for staying longer, or you know, and then keeping in mind that those places are primarily local, so they're not necessarily used to tourists, so they might not speak a lot of English. So it's like, all right, so you better learn a little Greek, you know. But it just forces you to really expand your mind and expand your mind. Don't take the days for granted, and seize the moments. Like when these moments come, and I'm not, you know, I know people are like, oh, so you just do anything. And I'm like, I mean, do anything or do nothing. It's up to you. Either way it goes, you are accountable for whatever that ends up being, right? And at the end of the day, you know, we can't blame anyone for what we did or did not do except ourselves within a certain context. Y'all know what I'm saying? So don't lay on no heavy stuff like, what if you in jail? Well, then don't go to jail. Well, what if I went because that's not what we talking about. We talking about like everyday normal stuff, right? And so we do control a lot of our destinies. And every day, every decision you make, whether you choose to stay between the lines or color outside of the lines or have no lines at all, you live with whatever decision you choose to make. And understand that every decision, whether you make one or not, whether you take a step forward or not, creates the next day. So there are things that I ended up doing, opportunities that popped up on this last trip that had I not have taken a step, I wouldn't have had that experience from so many different levels, right? And so I can't stress enough how important it is sometimes to just say, listen, I got all my ducks in a row. You know, follow whatever safety guidelines you feel you need to follow. Listen to your gut. But remember to live. Remember to live. Live to live. Remember to live to live. Instead of waiting to live, or waiting for the 100% of everything is worked out. Because what you will find is very rarely do things align 100% perfect the way that you want in order for you to do the next thing. Right? It's crazy, y'all. Anyway, I hope y'all catch, if people who are just jumping on, or folks who come on later, you go back and catch everything that I chatted about, just sharing information about Greece as a whole. And if you're one of those people who are on the border line with me, that was like, and I could do with or without Greece, and you got time to kind of sit with it and experience the country, definitely go. You would love it. All right, Shanna, I'm gonna get out of here. If you're still on here, thanks as always for chiming in, chatting with me while I'm sitting here, and sharing your experiences as well. I appreciate all of it all of the time. And who knows what's next? In December, I'm gonna be moving around a little bit. And so hopefully some new cities. It's not a new, I'm not looking at, well, maybe one new country, but hopefully I'll have some more to share with you guys next month as well. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. Fantastic chatting yet again. If you guys haven't already, click that like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. Oh, and like this video. Like this video too. Send it to a friend. And I'll chat with y'all later. You guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.